Hello, this is McD the Beast, and this is McD Sports 4 coming to you today with my college football top 25 for week 7 of the college football season. Can't believe we're already at week 7. Before I continue, don't forget to hit the thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel. We really appreciate if you do that. We're really trying to go to the channel. We do have a subscriber goal of 500 subscribers by the end of the year. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. If you're new, you will not regret it. So this past week in college football, number 1 went down, so there's a new number 1. You also had some very good games, especially the Red River Shootout and the Arkansas Ole Miss game. Those games were really good at noon. Um, and basically, you had a lot of great games. So let's get into it. We'll go 25 through 1. I'll talk a little bit about each team and go from there. So at number 25, I have Baylor. Baylor was not in the pool last week. They blew out West Virginia. The only loss is to a team in this top 25. Uh, so I do think that Baylor they were in the top 25 when before they lost to Oklahoma State. They were kicked out. They were never in my top 25. So this is the first appearance in the McD Sports 4 top 25. The only top 25 that matters. But I think Baylor. I think they're the 25th best team in the country. I think they're the third best team in the Big 12, and we'll see what happens. Number 25 Baylor. Number 24 SMU. They went on the road, found a way to beat Navy. They moved up one spot. So SMU number 24. They look like the second best team in the American. Number 23 Texas A&M. What an upset by Texas A&M. Probably the biggest win in that program's history. Biggest win for Jimbo Fisher since he's got there. Year 4 into Jimbo Fisher. About time he did something. He did beat Florida last year, to his credit, but A&M. Before this game, people were saying the LSU A&M game. Would that game be for a bowl game? Two 5 6 teams going at it. So obviously A&M shocked the world there at home. It's a big win for Texas A&M. We'll see what they continue to do. They're in a very tough division, SEC West. Outside of the South Carolina game, I believe they get Missouri as their other team in the SEC East. Outside of those two games, it's going to be uphill battle, in my opinion, for them to get wins. Just because it will be for any team really, but overall, when I mean any team in the SEC West, but overall, they still have to face the Mississippi. Well, they lost to Mississippi State, but they still have to face Ole Miss. I think they at least beat LSU and the SEC East teams. So it's a big win for Texas A&M. It really is, and this is the type of win that you could sit there and can propel you to really great things. So I'm telling you right now, and I know we're over a year out or maybe a little bit under of a year out. I think Texas A&M is gonna have a big year in 2022. I'm just feeling it. So I think they could do really good for the rest of this season, take that into 2022, and have a really good year. But big win for A&M. Number 22 is Wake Forest. I've moved them up a few spots. That's a big win on the road against Syracuse. A Syracuse team that is better than what I thought they were going to be this season. Wake Forest looks like the best team in the ACC, though. They're the only team ranked in my top 25 coming out of the ACC. So we'll see what happens. They still have that big game against NC State. That's going to be huge. But Wake Forest, they look good. They look good, Wake Forest. They're undefeated, number 22. Number 21 is BYU. I dropped them from number 12 to number 21. I dropped them 9 spots. You look at BYU. I still think they're a top 25 team. What you saw was a Boise State team with a culture there. I know it's a new head coach, but Boise State, what you saw from them was basically a program. That's what they do there at Boise State. They beat teams. They're not scared to play anybody. That was a win for Boise State. That was huge. Basically, so I still think BYU is a top 25 team. They still have, they still have a top 25 win. They beat UCLA. They beat Arizona. So I still think they're a top 25 team. Number 21 BYU. Okay, number 20 San Diego State. San Diego State, they look like the best team in the Mountain West. I think number 2 is Nevada. But San Diego State, they look pretty good. They're undefeated. They got a big win against I forget if it was New Mexico State. It was one of those two. So good win for them. Number 20, San Diego State. Number 19, Arkansas. I moved them down one spot. I think Arkansas at 19 is exactly where they need to be. I think they're right around that 20 spot. I don't know if they're a top 20 team. They're definitely a top 25 team in my opinion. I have no problems with Sam Pittman going for 2 there. I do have problems with that play call from Kendall Briles. I do have some issues there with that play call. I think you should just go ahead and just put in KJ Jefferson's hands, maybe one QB power right or something. But I do think Arkansas is a top 25 team. You look at their schedule. I think they lose to Alabama. I think they go ahead. They probably beat LSU. They'll probably beat Mississippi State. So I think they at least have 2 other wins in the SEC. They get Georgia out of the East. I forget who else they get out of the East. Who's across? Oh yeah, Missouri. They'll beat Missouri. So that's 3 wins right there. I still think this is a top 25 team, but I definitely think that they're still a little bit far out. But I like this team a lot. It's just that at the end of the day, when you lose, I'm moving you down one spot automatically. I'm not one of these people like, oh, it was a very good performance. I'm not going to move them. You're getting moved down if you lose. Number 18, UTSA. I told you UTSA was going to go on the road and beat Western Kentucky, and that's what they did. Western Kentucky is a good offense. They're going to win some games this year because of that offense. But UTSA, they look like the best team in the Conference USA. I was kind of warning them early, and they're continuing to prove me right. They do have UTEP, who is actually really good this year, and UAB in their division. They're going to have to play those 2 teams. But UTSA, they look really good. UTSA does. They found a way to go into Western Kentucky and beat them. Number 18, UTSA. Number 17, Florida. They pitched a shutout against Vanderbilt 42-0. Dan Mullen at the end of the first half's press conference was hilarious. Um, Listen, Florida, they're a top 25 team, but that's all they are in my opinion. They had a very good showing against Alabama. They're gonna lose to Georgia. I look at the rest of the SEC East. They'll probably beat everybody else. I mean, they already beat Tennessee. They'll beat South Carolina. They'll beat Missouri. They'll probably beat everybody else. The LSU game this week, I believe that game is in Baton Rouge. That's going to be a huge game for both teams, in my opinion. Would not surprise me if LSU wins that game. That game is probably going to determine Florida's season. Are they going to be a 9-10 win team, or are they going to be a 7-8 win team? So, but I think they're a top 25 team. Number 17, Florida. Number 16, Arizona State. Um, Arizona State, in my opinion, if they could beat Utah, the game is in Utah. If they could find a way to win that game, they will probably win the Pac-12 South. You look at Arizona State; they went ahead. Um, they're a good team. They're a good team. I forgot who they beat. Oh yeah, they beat Stanford Friday night. They beat Stanford Friday night. They won that game, and basically they beat them 28-10. Arizona State and Stanford's not a bad team. They beat a few teams this year. Hell, they beat the Oregon. So, um, Arizona State, in my opinion, I think they're a top 25 team, probably a top 20 team, honestly. Number 16, Arizona State. Now the top 15. Number 15, Kentucky. I'm not absolutely buying into Kentucky. That was a good win against LSU, 3 touchdowns. They will lose to Georgia. They're ranked number 11 in the AP. I don't think they're a top 11 team. I do think they're the 15th best team in the country right now. Um, they're gonna lose to Georgia this upcoming Saturday in Athens, but overall, I do think that Kentucky, they're a good team. They're definitely a top 25 team. They beat Florida. They beat the only other team they beat Missouri. The only other team in the SEC East is Tennessee. That might give them issues, and I think they will beat Tennessee. So they beat Carolina. They'll beat Vandy. So overall, I do think Kentucky, they're a top 25 team. I wasn't that high on them coming into the season, like a lot of Kentucky fans, and I'll admit I was wrong on that. They will lose this weekend, but outside of that, won't surprise me if they go 10-2, 11-1. We'll see. They still have Louisville as well. Louisville's not a bad team. So, number 15, Kentucky. Number 14, Oklahoma State. They have a big matchup this week against Texas. That's going to be that big noon kickoff game. You look at Oklahoma State. They were on a bye this week. Um, they're a good team. I mean, they're undefeated. They beat Boise. Boise just got a big top 25 win, so that's a big resume booster for Oklahoma State. They beat Baylor, who's number 25 in this poll. So we'll see what happens. They still have Oklahoma. They have Texas this week. They still have Iowa State. I still think Iowa State's not horrible. So we'll see what happens. Number 14, Oklahoma State. Number 13, Coastal Carolina. Yeah, I moved them down 3 spots. Listen, Coastal Carolina, they're gonna hover around 15 throughout the year as long as they stay undefeated. The resume is just not strong enough. You look at Coastal Carolina, they blew out Arkansas State on the road. That's a good win for them. But overall, I do think that Coastal Carolina, they are a great team. I think they do have a shot if Cincinnati loses a game, I do think Coastal Carolina will get that bid for the New Year's Six Bowl. If Cincinnati makes the playoffs, Coastal Carolina will get the bid for the New Year's Six Bowl. But I think Coastal Carolina, they go undefeated. They still have App State. They'll get Louisiana in the championship game. By the way, let me just say this on a side note about the Sun Belt. Louisiana and App State play Tuesday night. Why is that a Tuesday night game? At least make a Thursday night game. I mean, that's a game that I would love to pick, but I'm not gonna have the chance to pick it because of it's just too early. So it sucks, but because that's a huge game in the Sun Belt, but it should not be a Tuesday night game. But anyways, Coastal Carolina number 13, number 12, Ole Miss. They found a way to beat Arkansas at home. That's basically what happened. Those were two teams that I think are evenly matched. They faced 100 times. Each team's winning 50 times. Look at Ole Miss. They lost to Alabama. I think they could beat everybody else in the SEC West. Though. They beat Arkansas. I think they could beat Texas A&M. I think they'll beat LSU. I think they'll go ahead and beat Mississippi State. Auburn. I mean, if it's in Jordan Hare, we'll see. But I think if it's in Oxford, they'll beat Auburn. We'll see what happens. They have a big game against Tennessee on the road. They could be. I think they'll win that game. Honestly, I think it'll be a close game, but I think they'll win it. Lane Kiffin back in Knoxville. But you look at Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss overall. In my opinion, I do think that they are overall a top 15 team. Question is, how many games are they going to lose in the tough SEC? And we'll see. Number 11 is Notre Dame. Good win for Notre Dame. I didn't think you'll beat Virginia Tech on the road, and you guys did. It's a good win for Notre Dame. Notre Dame, in my opinion, I think will. Personally, I just don't think the resume is strong enough, so I don't think they will get into the college football playoffs. But I do think that they'll go ahead and make a New Year's Six Bowl at this point. Southern Cal is a dumpster fire. North Carolina is a dumpster fire. They lost to Florida State. That they are a dumpster fire there in North Carolina. What a disappointment. But overall, Notre Dame, I don't think they're a top 10 team, but I do think that they are a top 15 team, so number 11, Notre Dame. Okay, the top 10. Number 10 is Michigan State. What can I say about Michigan State? I still think Michigan State's going to have at least 2-3 losses coming in the Big Ten, primarily because I do think that Ohio State, Penn State, and Michigan are better than them. I'll say maybe they'll upset one of them, but I mean, definitely exceeding expectations. They beat Rutgers. They'll beat Indiana. They'll probably beat my Terps. So we'll see what happens. But Michigan State, I think they are a top 25 team, but I do think they'll have a few losses coming. It won't surprise me if those losses are even blowouts. But you gotta give Mel Tucker credit; he's really turned it around there. They're at worst a decent team. I don't think they are a top 10 team, but looking at the resume, how things are shaping up, I have to place them number 10. So number 10, Michigan State. Number 9 is Penn State. Now, before you say why did I move them all the way down to number 9, they were number 6 last week in my poll. So I moved them down from 6 to 9. Sean Clifford, if he didn't get injured, they were beating Iowa. Let's be real. Let's see how that Sean Clifford injury is. Hopefully he's back next week. I think I'm pretty comfortable in saying Penn State could beat anybody in the country. I'm pretty comfortable saying that. The question is, will they? Wisconsin, yeah, they're not that good of a team. The quarterback is an issue there at Wisconsin. They found a way to beat Illinois 24-0, which is a good win on the road there. I mean, that was one of my upset picks that didn't go my way. But Penn State, number 9, I do think that they are a top 10 team. I still question Clifford a little bit, even though when he was out there, he proved to me that he looked pretty good. It sucks that he got injured because I'm pretty sure they would have beat Iowa if he didn't get injured. But I moved him down 3 spots. Number 8 is Oregon. Listen, Oregon, they were on a bye. I didn't really move them that much. I think, in my opinion, I do think they are the best team in the Pac-12. But at the end of the day, I just don't think they're a top 5 team. I think they have a nice win against Ohio State. They lost to Stanford. Won't surprise me if they lose to someone else in the Pac-12, possibly even the Pac-12 championship game against Arizona State or Utah, whoever comes out of there. But Oregon, number 8, number 7 is Alabama. I dropped them from 1 to 7, and I know the AP dropped them to 1 to 5. Alabama, in my opinion, at the end of the day, will finish the season 11-1 and go ahead and come out of the SEC West. The question is, would they beat Georgia? I would say no. I think, and I'll talk about Georgia when I get to them, but I think Alabama, and Nick Saban been saying it the whole season, he's not completely sold on this team compared to some of his other teams. I think it was kind of proving against Florida. They did play pretty well against Ole Miss, even though Ole Miss kind of scored some touchdowns late in that one. Listen, I mean, and here's the cause of concern for Alabama. It was an unranked team. I mean, if A&M, I know Texas A&M, they've opened up, I think, top 15. If they were like number 8, number 7, number 8 in the country, and you lost that game 41-38 like you did, I'm probably honestly moving Alabama not farther down than 4. I think Alabama, I mean, you look at the schedule, Arkansas is still in that schedule, Auburn's still in that schedule. I think they beat those teams. Won't surprise me if those teams go ahead and pull off the upset, though. But especially Auburn. But I think Alabama, I think they'll end up in the top 4 in championship weekend. Won't surprise me if they get bounced out if they lose to Georgia, though. So we'll see what happens. But number 7, Alabama. Number 6, Michigan. Michigan, listen, they found a way to beat Nebraska 32-29. Faced a lot of adversity during that game. They found a way to beat Nebraska on the road 32-29. And listen, Nebraska, they're not that good of a team, but at the same time, Nebraska, I mean, the past few games they've been in those games, so against teams that are better than them. So I think Nebraska's kind of close to where they want to be. But you look at Michigan, I mean, they still have Ohio State, Michigan State, and Penn State. They're probably at least losing one of those games. I would say they'll probably lose the Ohio State one if you want my honest opinion. But we'll see what happens. I think Michigan is a top 10 team. I think I told you that I think this team was top 25 coming into the season. I had them ranked 25 in the McD Sports 4 preseason poll, and I'm getting proven right. And you might say I'm a bit high on Michigan, but when I ranked them up at 25 in the preseason poll, and they're overperforming my expectations because I thought they'll at least have one loss in the schedule by now. I gotta say, I'm pretty impressed. So number 6, Michigan. Okay, top 5. Number 5, Oklahoma. I mean, what can I say about Oklahoma? What a game. What a comeback. Down 28-7. Came back, won the game 55-48. If you're Texas, that's a devastating loss, by the way, if you're Texas. Right there. And, I mean, I picked Texas to pull off the upset there. And first of all, I'm disgusted with Texas right now of them blowing that lead. But, listen, if you're Oklahoma, Caleb Williams needs to be the starter every single time until he graduates. Spencer Rattler, God bless him. Caleb Williams is better than Spencer Rattler, and got proven. And Caleb Williams, he's a DMV kid. My Terps are in the final list of schools for him. We just came up a bit short. He went to Oklahoma instead of Maryland. Can't blame him, but at the end of the day, he's better than Spencer Rattler. It was proven yesterday. I expect Caleb Williams to still be the starter. To not still be the starter, to be the starter throughout the rest of the season. Spencer Rattler, I don't think is a bad quarterback. He'll end up transferring, in my opinion. But in my opinion, Oklahoma. We'll see what happens. It still would not surprise me if they lose a game somewhere on the schedule. But number 5, Oklahoma. Number 4, Cincinnati. Listen, Cincinnati, I think, is going to make the college football playoffs as long as they stay undefeated. They blew out Temple. And Temple, I mean, they had a win against Memphis. That was kind of impressive. They blew them out 52-3. They have UCF. I think they're going to beat UCF by a few scores. They have UCF this upcoming weekend at home. As long as Cincinnati continues blowing out everybody, I mean, SMU is the one team, and maybe Houston's the teams that I do think could give them a game. But they could, I mean, if they blow out SMU, let's say they face SMU in the American Championship, they blow out SMU. It's going to be pretty tough to keep them out. They have that big win against Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame's a top 15 team. Indiana, I think, is going to be struggling to make a bowl game, but they beat Indiana by 2 scores. So we'll see what happens. But I think Cincinnati, I have them ranked number 4. I think they're that good. Number 3 is Ohio State. Listen, they faced a horrible defense in the Maryland Terps. And hung 66 on them. They hung 52 on Rutgers. I think Ohio State's back. I didn't panic when they lost to Oregon. I think the lowest they were in this pool was number 7. Um, so they're number 3 now. Yeah, they have a loss. You can make the argument that Cincinnati and Oklahoma should be ahead of them because they have a loss. But in my opinion, I think Ohio State, they're the 3rd best team in the country. As I said, they still have to face Michigan State. Michigan, Penn State won't surprise me if they lose one of those. But Ohio State, number 3. Number 2, Iowa. Listen, I'll be honest with you. If Sean Clifford didn't get injured, I think Iowa would not be number 2 in this pool because I think Iowa would have lost that game. But you look at Iowa. I mean, what can I say about them? You look at the rest of their schedule. They're gonna go 12-0. They're gonna go 12-0. People are gonna be like, oh, they still have Wisconsin on the schedule. Would surprise you if whoever's the Wisconsin quarterback, let's say it's Graham Mertz, would surprise you if he throws 5 interceptions against Iowa. I mean, in my opinion, I think Iowa is undefeated going into the Big Ten championship game. We'll see what happens in the Big Ten championship game, who they get in that game. But Iowa, in my opinion, I think you gotta rank them as the 2nd best team in the country, and then number 1. And the team that I think should be favored to win the national championship, and I honestly don't think there's a close second, is Georgia. I think it's Georgia and everybody else at this point. If you really want my honest opinion, um, they basically went to Auburn and dominated them. A little bit of a scare, down 3-0 early, but I mean, and here's the funny thing about the whole thing about Georgia. They're not even playing a starting quarterback and doing these things. They're going to beat Kentucky to a similar tune that they beat Auburn. I see that game being 34-10, just like the Auburn game. I mean, Georgia's probably going undefeated. Florida will give them a little bit of a scare, in my opinion. But I think I could see them being Florida 34-20, something like that. So we'll see what happens if whoever they get out of the SEC West. But Georgia, they are the best team in the country, and I don't even think it's close. So that's the top 25. Here's the 2 teams that got kicked out. I kicked 2 teams out. Number 20, Auburn. I don't think Auburn's a bad team. I just think they face the best team in the country. I wanted to put Baylor in there, so I had to find room to go ahead and put Baylor in there. So I kicked Auburn out. Auburn's number 26 in my opinion. Texas, I kicked them out. It's a tough loss for Texas. It really is. Number 23, Texas last week, they got kicked out of my poll. It's really a tough loss. They have a big game this week against Oklahoma State at home. They win that game, they're probably back in the top 25. So that's the 2 teams I got left out. Comment down below. Tell me your top 25. I always like hearing from y'all. Thanks for watching the video. Hit the thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel. A bit of a channel note. NBA predictions are going to be out tomorrow night. So NBA season starts a week from Tuesday. So those predictions are going to be out. And my college football pick video will be out Wednesday morning. NFL pick video out Thursday. Thanks for watching the video. Hit the thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel. I appreciate you do that. This is McD the B signing off.